Mawimbi is a fusion of circus performance and music into one tangible thing. It uses technology to generate music to live circus performance. The word Mawimbi is Swahili for waves. The sea has had a big aesthetic influence on the piece, with deep-sea creatures being a great inspiration from very early on. The juggling balls that I started using for tracking reminded me of these deep-sea creatures I had seen in a short film, Solipsist, that came out around the time I started the project. I initially started the sound design for them with this in mind, and the theme of waves grew from there. The sound waves that make up the music are controlled by light waves visually tracked by a camera, currently a PlayStation Eye, which points towards the stage. A laptop interprets this image using software written in MaxMSP. For the juggling balls, this software tracks the location and visible size of each ball on stage, and from this calculates various other aspects of each ball, such as the velocity and direction of movement. When I was a teenager in school, I was fascinated with programming physics systems, and figuring out how objects interact. I'm now taking that process and putting it in reverse, picking apart an object's movement into its component parts. This information is then passed to various software synthesizers that generate the music.
The balls I'm using are just simple off-the-shelf LED juggling balls. These ones are particularly good for what I'm doing, as they can be turned on and off very quickly and easily. Each ball has a unique sound and a unique way of reacting to being manipulated. The blue ball is the simplest, which is why I generally introduce it to an audience first in a performance. It makes the connection between visuals and music the clearest. All the ball's sounds are turned on by the light being turned on and off by being turned off or hidden from the camera. They also all pan left and right to make it sound like the music is coming from the ball. This ball otherwise only changes pitch with height, which is a common mental connection, strengthened by the terms high and low pitch. The red ball is very similar to the blue, but with a much more drony sound. This ball differs from the blue, however, in that the intensity of the sound is affected by the speed that the ball is moving, which gives it an extra layer of connection with the movement and the sound that's being experienced. The green ball is, for me, the most interesting and certainly the most complex of the balls. The height of the ball controls a filter sweep, while the velocity filters a MIDI signal allowing the beats of a drum pattern to be played when the ball is moving faster, and fewer when it's moving slower. This means that when the ball is held still, all you hear is a kick loop, but as the ball starts to move, the faster it goes, the more other hits you start to hear. This connection between visual and sonic movement has proven to be the most interesting and challenging part of the work to develop, while it's relatively easy to have elements of the music controlled by the data generated from the balls. Making this connection intuitively understandable by an audience while remaining interesting and engaging is a very different matter.
I feel this obvious mental connection between seeing a sound source being played and hearing the sound it produces has been lost somewhat in electronic music, with performers hunched over small, ever-changing controls. The audience can't begin to connect the majority of movements with the sounds they are causing. My work aims to recapture this connection. While the project involves a lot of technology, it's this approach that really interests me. The tech is just a means to an end. Much like with a band, the focus is not generally on the instruments they are playing, but the music or performance with those instruments. I've had many bands over the last few years, from ska and progressive rock through to experimental electronic music and drone noise projects that sit on the border between performance art and music. But more and more I lean towards exploring improvisation. I have a progressive rock band, the Coroner's Court, which started a couple of years ago to look at non-linear composition. Music was partially composed in sections, with movements of band members on stage controlling the outcome of the music. Any member able to control any aspect of the whole, purely by standing in a specific position to signal the change to the other band members. They could change anything from tempo and time signature to notes that any of the individual members were playing. This exploration of non-linear composition, musical performance which has pre-written parts but with a structure and other elements that are ultimately improvised at the time of performance, has continued into Mawimbi. Each performance can therefore be improvised to a large degree, the music fitting to the performance, not the other way round, as is common in circus and physical theatre. I'm focusing mainly on developing a part of the project that works with visually tracking LED juggling balls, and this is the part currently developed to a performable standard, though I have been exploring several other circus props and tracking methods that have potential and will be further explored and developed in the near future. These range from simply different circus props, which will each create different sounds that relate to the way that each prop moves, to props developed specifically for the tracking, like pendulums that set the tempo of the music, or mouth lights that enable a performer to speak drum breaks or other sounds. I've been working with various other circus performers to experiment around these ideas and develop a more theatrical, narrative-driven side to the show. I've also started experimenting with other technology, working with the Kinect sensor, which is brilliant for body tracking and would be very interesting to combine with the ball tracking. And accelerometers, which would be good for tracking aerial work and acrobatics, which the Kinect would struggle with. For me, Mawimbi is a way to combine my loves of music technology, composition and circus performance into one project. It's already getting some fantastic responses to live shows, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it evolve into a full show. It's not quite synesthesia I'm trying to recreate, but a total interconnectedness of the sentences.
Yes, you're definitely trying to do that.
I'm definitely trying to interconnect my sentences, and I'm not succeeding in the slightest.